My name is Sheli. Now I'm married, so I'm Sheli Masondo. But I grew up as Osheli Nyati, Soweto Ezola, Kamshaya Zafe, they used to say. I studied there the first years. Sub A, Bantu education, so sub A, no sub B, and then high school, I went to boarding schools. Went to boarding schools in Transkei because there was riots in Soweto. Then we were shipped to Transkei. I went to boarding schools there all the way to high school. Then came back mid-high school, back to Joburg. Growing up, I actually thought I was going to be a lawyer. Thank God I'm not. It was by accident in Joburg fashion. My mother was a fashion designer. I actually did not like clothes. I hated clothes. At least I thought I did, because I was cutting them up. You know, I wasn't interested in going to shops. No, my mom's taking basla. Whatever I let her, you being I criticize it. But before you go, bengizoyikhatha ngibhale, you know, Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Boy George on the clothes. Because those were my idols in terms of music, style. I mean, I was introduced to Brenda Fassie much later, actually, by my sister. But I was more on the rock and roll side, pop side of music. Fast forward to high school. I passed matric, but I did not do so well, so I needed to repeat it. I wanted to repeat matric. And my mother was like, I'm not getting involved in school fees. I'm senamali, you know, like those were the struggles. And I had to go to Mpande manje mali kusifundisa, and started sewing, you know, sewing shorts, wanting sang 50 rand, you know. And I was good with money, so I was able to pay for my school fees. Went to tertiary, developed the love for fashion. I went to tertiary, to design school. Then I was actually having more orders. I had my own studio in town whilst I was studying fashion design. So that's when the love and the beginning of fashion. I had lots of clients. There was a school who would come, like on Fridays, I'm delivering. I'm a two-piece, you know, I'm a waistcoat. There was a fashion guy, Janet Jackson, you know, like I was actually pushing those. And somehow in that space, then I was in the space where we were living close by Nabo Shaka. Then I started designing for the Shaka on their stage costumes, their music video costumes. Then it became a career. When I look at the thread of my style now, it is a thread that was planted actually by my mother. I think my styling is more about storytelling. It's about my feelings, you know, at the moment or in a certain period, you know. Red became a color that I chose when I started researching Shaka iLembe, for instance, you know, and the energies around red. I needed to actually have those energies on me and somewhere, and the best place was my hair. It all started behind a desk, you know, like sitting and going through whatever the internet could offer in terms of information. And also your instinct also as an African, like you read it and then some things make sense, some things don't make sense. And then going to museums, like I started at its museum and there was pieces, and I think I was blown by the pieces at Red Museum that were collected, like the type of beadwork. Actually, beadwork is if I mind, must display the tradition and cultural wedding. It's you know, they would create something like a flower in a 3D number beads, and it's like how could they have been so creative, you know. And I went to museums at KZN. I think I went to about over 5 museums, learning about the birds, the animals that were in that space at that time, and what those birds and what those animals meant to culture, to royalty, to to warriors. And like sometimes I would read an article like and just go through it to be even slower because amanye amagama wesiZulu akhona like la amakhulu ungawazi ukuthi athini, but you could go through it over and over again. So a lot of time was spent in actually dissecting and going through pieces. And going also emakhaya, like I went to Lund, I went to Nongoma, and I had a guy in Pumlani that would take me to places. And I think one of the places that he took me to was our Mama Baba Nongoma that were making his dwala. The dwala is a traditional Zulu set. And when I saw the construction of his dwala, and I turned it upside down and looked at how intricate the stitching was, and how they actually, when they get isikhumba symbols and they sugar, like work on the textures and change the textures of his kumba. Also, the fact that Mpuma Design School, and I know what pattern making is, garment construction is, and I know what it takes. Like imethi yami improve sebenza among Fili Design School because of the measurements, like the architecture of creating volume and adding panels on a skirt, and bona the number of panels. I mean, what I've done here is nothing compared to what they did, to Idwal. And for me, I was like, there, I've got it. The license, if they could do this, I have to up my game. I have to represent them well. I have to, all those pictures that we never got to see of what they did. All those sketches that came much later, I needed to represent them. I needed to represent them well. I needed to make them look clean. But this time, like I needed to actually celebrate them, and I don't know. I think for me, that was. I think after Mama Laba, I actually wanted to go to a museum in Shaka. I wanted to go where I can find what do you call it? Monumental statues. Yes. I needed something and ask guidance, and and that's what you do. That's how we raised as one. Like you go to, like you do that, and I felt good. I needed to do it.